All right, we are live. This is Sound Booth Theater Live. Hey, Benjamin Wagner, good to see you, man. It's been a while. This is Sound Booth Theater Live, and this is the cold reads for Psychoworld. Psychoworld. Ah, shit. Of course. For Psychoworld. Psychoworld. Let's try this again. That was just the YouTube video being open elsewhere and then echoing. Anyway, this is Psychoworld, the cold reads for Psychoworld, the sequel to Psychobitches, released in 2019 by Sound Booth Burlesque, written by Jamie Hawke. And this is a superharem adventure. For those of you who don't know, we also worked on a series called Super's X Heroes, which was also by Jamie Hawke. And also we worked on Planet Kill by Jamie Hawke, and he had a partner on that one. Let's see, Planet Kill was written by Jamie Hawke and... No, not Killer. Sebastian Wilde and Jamie Hawke. Yes, there we go. And that was sort of a weird reverse harem thing, but like all sorts of harem. Like Planet Kill is the dirtiest thing I think maybe we've done. So Jamie Hawke has quite a dirty imagination. So this series is basically about a bounty hunter who's really good at taking down supers. And so he takes down super criminals, and he has been assembling them into a harem, of course. Weirdly enough, the harem was sort of the chick's idea. There's some really interesting characters in this book. Sort of, you know, there's one that kind of reminds me of what is her name? Harley Quinn. Right, she's just this kind of bipolar, crazy chick. She's on the cover. She's got the sword going on with the red dress. It looks like almost like an armored dress. And yeah, this is just an absurd, fun time. Now this, my finishing up this series represents my finishing up of harem books in general, of erotica in general, but you know, I just didn't want to leave this series hanging just because you know, Jamie Hawke has been you know, a good partner for us, and you know, I again, like, just leaving it incomplete has been bothering me a bit, but also because it's pretty silly and fun and original as far as harems go, I think. It is actually pretty enjoyable, and I like narrating as this character, Ezra. I've decided to just give him the most masculine voice possible and kind of go with my Duke Nukem impression. And Annie does an incredible job as the crazy chick on the front with the red dress and the happy face on her boob. So yeah, I'm sorry I forget everyone's names. Oh, this one's Sherry, right? Yeah, that's Sherry, the one on the cover. So, anyway, let's get this started. Oh, by the way, just a few little commercials. Tomorrow, Stars Have Eyes, episode 14 is releasing on our platform for free. The Stars Have Eyes is maybe the complete opposite of Psychobitches. It's actually a romantic comedy. It's got eldritch horror elements to it, and it's really a heartfelt, you know, highly, I don't know, it's very human, and we've been working really hard on it. This is episode 14. That means we've been working on this for 14 whole months. And it's coming to a close. Episode 15 is the last episode, so be sure to catch up if you haven't already. All of it is for free on our platform. And by the way, the last cold read that I did was Delvers 5, and that is still available on our platform. Go check that out if you're interested in finding out what's happening next in the Delvers universe. And yeah, keep an eye out for more releases. I can't remember if there's anything else releasing tomorrow, but oh, right, of course, there is also the Chrysalis pre-order that's up and available now. We're working with Athon Books, and Athon has gotten a lot of different authors from the Royal Road portion of the world, and there's quite a few people that have a lot of successful things there, and Chrysalis is one of them. So yeah, looking forward to that. June 7th is the release of that book, but it's on pre-order now. It's by an author named Rhino Z. Yes, Razor Casket says, I love Stars Have Eyes. It gets so crazy, but somehow keeps such a relaxing vibe. That's right. Yeah, that's what I love about it, too. And Benjamin Wagner is asking me, will you be putting it all in one collection? I imagine you mean the Tear It Up series, starting with Psychobitches and moving on with this book. And then I'm doing Psychoverse, that's book 3, back to back with this one. So that cold read is going to start not too long from now, probably just next week. So yeah, we are eventually going to collect it all into one bundle. So just keep an eye out for that. All right, so last thing I'm going to do is pour myself some tea, and let's get started. I hope you guys are enjoying Dungeon Crawler Carl 5, by the way. It hit number 5 in all of Audible for us. So that was an amazing surprise, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore. People just absolutely love that series, for good reason. It's, my favorite thing to work on. So it's really nice to be in a position where my favorite things to work on are making us the most sales. It's really rare. So here goes.
Sound Booth Theater presents Psychoworld. Tear It Up, Book 2. Written by Jamie Hawke. Narrated by Jeff Hayes. Featuring Hayes. Featuring Annie Ellicott as Sherry.
I can't remember who else is who, so I'm just going to leave it alone right there. I'll remember as I go along. Oh, thank you. My this is actually a Thai gold. Oh, there's a microphone open outside. Fixed.
Chapter 1.
Nope.
Part 1. Chapter 1. With Abaddon long gone, both in terms of our flight path and in the sense that we had blown it the fuck up, my team of Psychobitches was finally managing to breathe normally and relax.
Let's see, let's try this again. I don't know. I need to get back into this voice.
With Abaddon long gone, I don't have time to play with myself.
There we go. That's always the phrase that I use to get back into this character voice.
I don't have time to play with myself.
Any of you guys ever played Duke Nukem 3D? Oh, I guess, I don't know why I didn't think to do this before, but remember, guys, this is a super harem adventure. This is very NSFW. So if any of you guys are sensitive about that kind of stuff, there's lots of penetrative craziness going on. So keep that in mind as you go along. This will be awkward for both you and me.
Part 1. Chapter 1. With Abaddon long gone, both in terms of our flight path and in the sense that we had blown it the fuck up, my team of Psychobitches was finally managing to breathe normally and relax. We were flying in a large ship that had previously served as the core of Abaddon. After killing Master Shen and making a break for it, this was our only option, at least until meeting up with Letha. At least until meeting up with Letha and the others who were flying to join Breaker and his team. At least until meeting up with Letha and the others who were flying to join Breaker and his team. We flew with them now, doing the same and anxious to figure out.
Let's try this again.
We were flying in a large ship that had previously served as the core of Abaddon. After killing Master Shen and making a break for it, this was our only option, at least until meeting up with Letha and the others who were flying to join Breaker and his team. We flew with them now, doing the same and anxious to figure out more about what our next move would be.
Let me go turn something off here. Let's close that up. Where is my loop back? Okay, I'm going to leave it alone for now.
Move would be. Taking on Orion Corp was definitely in the cards, but we didn't know what that meant in terms of our next immediate action.
Holy shit. And let's go ahead and put her in Chick 3. Nope, not that one. There we go. Nope, not that one. Here we go.
Sherry said, and then laughed.
All right.
Holy shit.
Okay. So I need to start looking up pronunciations again because it's been 3 years since I read the first book. Psychobitches. Come on now. Irupa, I think her name is. Irupa. Now, let me go look it up. What is going on here? Sorry about that, guys. That was a weird thing to run into. Okay, alright. So I gotta find this damn book. Let's see. Alphabetical. This is gonna be like right in the middle of our giant list of books, and there's no search function on ACX. Urgh. God, I hate this website so much. I hate this website. I hate it. It's so awesome how they make everything so inconvenient. Here we go. Psychobitches, tear it up. Produce audiobook. Got it. Alright. Erotica. Chapter 1. Here goes.
Chapter 1. There's nothing wrong with psychos, especially when capturing the supervillain variety means filling my bank account with credits. Hell, even better when they look like Erotica.
That's what I thought. Erotica.
Then laughed.
Looks like... Dude, why is this program so slow? Oh my god, just fucking... Kindle. You kidding me? It's all text. It's all just text and pictures. Alright.
And then laughed.
Alright, we're good there. I think we're good.
What?
Erotica asked skeptically.
And if you say Lily... Not my fault that Lily said you all fought like bitches back there.
Sherry replied, holding up the little bear chained to the hilt of her sword, a.k.a. Lily.
She likes you all, honestly. But the way it went down, kinda fucked.
Sherry? I chided her. She turned her gaze on me, thumb still petting the back of her little bear.
She's not saying you were anything other than a badass. And sexy as fuck, that's for damn sure. Just that if we'd handled it differently, we could have walked out of there without nearly getting our ass handed to us several times.
Okay, Tink. I need to remember who Tink... I don't even remember if I did her voice or not. I think I did. Tink. This is the little fairy creature. Alright, chapter 2. Looks like about a minute in. Let's hear it.
Chapter 2. Up to the max, not wanting to take on any more risk than I needed to, and was glad to see the mountains that soon showed on the other side of no man's land. Welcome to your new home, Tink, I said.
Maybe you should come down with us. Stay for a while.
She shot back with a grin.
Could give you a tour.
Okay, so she's going to have basically the same voice that I was just doing for Sherry. And Annie is Sherry, so that's not a problem.
Shut up. Shut up.
Tink grumbled. Nobody's denying that it could have gone smoother, I said, hoping to calm things down and ease the tension. Hell, who knows how many more hybrids or supers in mid-experiment could have been with us, flying off to destroy the Orion Corp. We did what we had to do to survive, though. And won.
No argument here,
Sherry said, but glanced down at the bear as if listening. Her face scrunched up.
But... We don't want to fucking hear what Lily or the other voices in your head think.
Erotica interrupted, voice thick with irritation.
Stow that shit. Stow that shit.
Let's try again.
right. We don't want to fucking hear what Lily or the other voices in your head think.
Irupa
Oh, I remember. There was, I want to turn off the limiter because it's a little too loud. The playback is a little too loud. There we go.
Think.
Irupa interrupted.
Stow that shit.
Sherry frowned, an expression that morphed into a pout as she turned my way. I patted my leg, and she came over to sit. I patted my leg, and she came over to sit on my lap, wrapping her arms around my neck. "We're going to make all of this right," I said, then kissed her on the cheek. As much as possible, anyway. I know taking you all was wrong now, and whenever you want to go back, get out of here and find your way home, you know I won't stand in your way.
And you know none of us want that,
She countered.
Not when we have a chance of taking out Orion Corp.
And after that, she looked confused, then chuckled.
Oh, Ezra, don't you know? There's always going to be another Orion Corp.
What?
Psychobitch
Alright, what? Oh, no wonder it's not falling.
Psychobitch Supreme is right.
Irupa said, finally grinning at Sherry.
Even after Orion itself falls. You know that won't be the end.
So what? After this and others like it, you all are sticking with me? I was surprised to find each of them meeting my gaze and nodding. Like the Psychobitches become some band of superheroes?
What is it you like to say?
Sherry winked.
I am the law, right? Let's change that slightly. I to we, sugar, we are the law. Or can be.
I laughed, loving it. But come on. You all are serious?
When you found me, I was so drunk I couldn't buy brandy.
Sherry said.
I mean it. Couldn't even afford the cost of a lap dance from that bitch. As much as I was in the mood. The fuck are you talking about?
Irupa asked, but then waved it off, apparently not wanting her to elaborate.
Point is, same here. I could go back, but to anything as cool as this? No fucking way. This is the Citadel we're talking about, and... us. Our team. We're hot chocolate. I like that,
Tink chuckled.
Hot chocolate. And Ezra's nuts are the marshmallows. Hot chocolate. And Ezra's nuts are the marshmallows. So yummy I could slurp them up.
Oh, man. What's up, guys? Oh, it's not that kind. It's not that kind of NSFW. It's the word kind of NSFW.
Whoa there.
I'm up.
Whoa there. I held up my hands, grinning at the thought. But caught off guard by the 180. We still have the hybrids on board, and one specifically. I mean...
The mermaid. The mermaid. The mermaid. The mermaid.
Ah, crap.
The mermaid.
Tink said, nodding.
Right. Only we don't have a clue where she's from, and neither does she.
That sentence silenced us all. We had saved the mermaid, along with others from Abaddon. We had saved the mermaid, along with others from Abaddon. Hybrids who had once been supers, no doubt, and had been worked on to improve their fighting ability. Only in many cases their memories were adjusted as well. I don't understand the sentence. Only, in many cases, their memories were adjusted as well.
Give us time,
Sherry said, interrupting my thoughts.
Voices tell me she'll come around. We just need to work with her.
I nodded, noticing that the other ships in our little impromptu fleet were starting to slow. If this was really happening and we were about to be part of a force taking on Orion Corp., the last thing I wanted was to be thought of as a reactor. My team was right. From now on, we were going to fight on the side of right together. As the law. Patch me in, I said. It's time to introduce ourselves. It's time to introduce ourselves.
Oh man, I forgot how silly this... I didn't forget how silly this was, actually. This will be in the burlesque section, yes. And if you check the description of the YouTube of the video we're in right now, you can find the Audible link to book 1. So, if this is making you curious, you can go pick it up. And he does a much better Sherry than I do.
It's time to introduce ourselves. Nobody moved, and after a moment, Irupa gestured to the controls in front of me. I grinned, pulled up the comms, and said, "Sure, I'll do it. Whatever."
You were closest.
Tink added, with a restrained chuckle. I ignored my team as the comms connected, showing that I was hailing the other group, but they hadn't put the call through yet. "Breaker?" We paused for a moment, sharing nervous glances before a familiar voice said,
"All right, this is gonna be Justin. Justin. If you guys don't know, Justin was the main character. Breaker is the main character of Super's Ex-Heroes, and Justin Thomas James played that character. This is Breaker. Who do I have the pleasure of addressing?
Sending over my video, I nodded when it confirmed I was showing on their screen. It was good to see this other team, led by the man from the video Letha had shown me before departure. The man had a small scar on the right side of his face and thick, slightly disheveled black hair. He had a civilian look to him and appeared younger than me, but withered, like maybe he'd spent some good time in a boxing ring. Behind him was a woman with green hair, along with a larger woman with dark skin, and the fox lady with canine-like ears protruding through her tousled pink hair.
Wait, I thought they'd already met here.
"My name is Ezra Faldron," I said. "I take it by your voice that you are Breaker. We received your message and have brought what forces we could muster to assist in your mission."
Okay, so, 1 second. What's up, Dante? Let me YouTube. Thanks for coming. Okay, I have to... Okay, I know the Annie's Gale. And let me make sure I have the name Faldron pronounced correctly. All right, chapter 1 still.
Full lips, tight ass, and cleavage that technically I'm a bounty hunter. But where I'm from, the words are semi-interchangeable. When people speak of Ezra Faldron,
Yep,
criminals
Faldron.
cower. In your mission.
Hold the fuck up.
The curvy woman said, and I put together that this was Gale, the one who had served in the Citadel military.
I've heard of you, you piece of shit.
This wasn't how I wanted the conversation to go, but we all had our pasts. I would have to move on from mine. Holding my hands up, I said, I was a bounty hunter, one who brought my catches to Abaddon, as a matter of fact, often for the group we now consider the enemy.
He's changed.
Erupa came to my defense.
We were some of his prisoners, but he helped us fight our way out of there and take down the planet's core.
Sherry wrapped her arms around me.
We are the Psychobitches.
She kissed my cheek affectionately, then added,
And we blew that shit the fuck up.
Dear? I kissed her hand, then turned back to the screen. This is Sherry, and here we have Erupa, as well as Tink. At a look from Tink, I added, Flyer.
Oh man, that's ridiculous. That is so much worse a name than Tink. Why does she want that name?
Tink. At a look from Tink, I added, Flyer.
Okay, I've got to go turn that shit off on.
Flyer.
Tink's fine.
She shrugged.
It's kinda grown on me.
As in Tinkerbell? Breaker replied, laughing. You've heard of her? I asked, surprised. It had been my experience when interacting with other bounty hunters that very few of them got my Earth references and jokes. They always acted like I was the idiot, when it was their ignorance that was being highlighted. But whatever.
Dude,
Breaker replied, grinning.
I'm OG Earth, okay? You want to know about Peter Pan, the Man in the Iron Mask, Princess Bride, Zelda, whatever. I know it all. Well, whatever I've been able to dig up anyway.
No shit. I was impressed, but in part because I only caught half of his references. Gale shoved Breaker aside to get central in the screen.
You've turned over a new leaf, huh? How the fuck do we know that's true and you aren't bullshitting us?
I didn't... What?
Why would it be didn't know? Oh, I see.
You've turned...
I didn't know, I explained, glancing back as the mermaid entered, legs normal since she wasn't in the water. With a nod her way, I continued. That's my only excuse. I thought I was on the side of righteousness. Didn't realize the ones I served were up to such vile practices.
Although not everything they made turned out bad,
Sherry interjected, turning to our new mermaid friend and caressing her face with a giggle. Yes, but they had no right, I countered, not sure what to think of the hybrid mermaid yet. She seemed legit, wanted to fight, but had yet to tell us much about who she had been before any of this, and have done far more evil than good.
What opened your eyes?
Gale asked, frowning. I took a moment, trying to decide where to go with this. Do you mind? I asked the mermaid. She shook her head. I'd hate to...
She's not some toy to show off. She's not some toy to show off,
Erupa hissed, too low for the other side to hear.
She's not some toy to show off,
Erupa hissed.
There we go.
I know. I lowered my voice. It's not like that. They need to understand.
All right, now I gotta go find out what the mermaid's voice sounds like. I don't remember who it was that took this voice. All right, let's see here. I don't know who's supposed to be the mermaid. Yeah, I don't think we actually, she actually said anything.
Understand.
All right, so I gotta come up with something new. Not sure who to cast. Hopefully we get Lori back for this one.
This will help?
The mermaid asked, voice even quieter than my whisper. Yes, I replied. She nodded, so instead of me answering directly, I stood aside and motioned for her to come forward. Breaker and his team stared in confusion, then processed realization as the gills moved on her neck and she opened her mouth to reveal her sharp teeth. When she's in water, she's a mermaid. Kind of, I explained. A hybrid super. They've been doing this all over that place. Or rather, inside. Working with powers such as regeneration, water survival, and others to create various creatures, some who can shift, like her, others who are stuck as what many would consider monsters. At the narrowing of the mermaid's eyes, I whispered, "Sorry."
We faced some on Abaddon,
Breaker said, then put a hand on Gale's arm.
Also, we set up the ships so the others wouldn't be able to take them. If he had ulterior motives, I'd like to think the AI we programmed would have caught it.
The idea that AI on ships could tell anything like that confused me. But I nodded. There you go. What he said. Gale frowned, but turned away from the screen. I think we can trust them, Breaker said. Us and a couple of others who helped out down there, I said. I hope you all agree, since we have every intention of taking out Orion Corp, same as you. As soon as we set down somewhere, I'll introduce you to Letha, Trunk, and the others. I don't know who this one is, a blue lady.
They have my vote,
The blue lady said with a hint of a smile. Not just any blue lady, I realized as I stared at her. This was the blue lady, Andromeda herself. Many a bounty had been issued for this woman, but after a while everyone began to understand how stupid it was to even try to go up against her.
Enemy of my enemy and all that.
With a hesitant nod from Gale, Breaker said, "Welcome to the team."
All right, that's a chapter. That's number one. Sorry, that phrase is stuck in my head right now. All right. Oh no. Sorry, Jen. Sorry, Jen Chubb. Let me get some more tea.
Chapter 2. While Breaker signed off, I stayed on the call with the green-haired Twitch to discuss logistics and answer a couple of questions to prove our loyalty. At the end of it, she had us send over a list of who we At the end of it, she had us send over a list of who we had on board and what our powers were.
Excuse me.
It felt a bit like an invasion of privacy, but it made sense. They had to know what powers they had on their side to properly formulate an attack plan, I figured, so got right down to it. I signed off, finally, and turned to find the ladies talking with our new mermaid friend.
You're sure you don't even remember your name?
Sherry said, scratching her chin.
Nothing,
the mermaid said, although there wasn't a doubt on my part, as my powers kicked in to show me her emotions, all of which spoke of her telling the truth. Sherry glanced my way and nodded.
Agreed.
Sorry? I asked.
Just that I agree. She's been nothing but honest with us. I've been hoping my voices would give me a name, but nothing.
Mer,
Arupa said, with a shrug.
Mare.
Mare,
Arupa said, with...
For Meryl?
The woman asked, but shook her head.
I don't think that fits. No, for mermaid. Until we get your memory working again.
Arupa glanced down at the pistol at her side, and I sensed what was going on there. Caution. A simple name to avoid becoming too attached, in case the mermaid didn't last long. Up here, in the situations we were finding ourselves in, such caution made sense, as cold as that was. Mare would do, though.
Comms,
Arupa said, pointing to the display. Twitch again? I asked, glancing back over.
Wishful thinking?
Sherry asked, an eyebrow raised. I ignored the comment and blew a kiss her way. She didn't really think there could be wandering eyes on my part, not when I had these beauties at my side. Her eyes wandering, though? I had to wonder, now that she had raised the topic. Regardless, this wasn't the time.
Not her,
Letha said, appearing on the display. Trunk was on, too.
All right, so Lori, Letha, comms. Okay.
It's good to see you both again. And clear of Abaddon, I said. What's going on?
Actually, this call is to fill you in on something. Then I'll check with Breaker and his team. See what they think. Cool.
Letha gave it a moment, then went on to tell us how we would need to track down a man who worked for Orion Corp. But there was more than that. It was Trunk's father. We all agreed it made sense, that we would need an inside man. So we signed off.
His dad? His dad?
Tink said, a humored expression dancing in her eyes.
Damn. If I had the slightest idea where my dad was, I certainly wouldn't wrap him into something like this.
Wasn't a super? I asked.
He was, actually. Quite high up there in the power grid, but the guy was an asshole. Cared more about trying to help everyone else than ever being there for his family. I know the type,
Arupa said, nodding. Not all of our dads could be perfect. I cringed at my own words, hoping they didn't ask me about my dad, who actually had been quite the role model. I cringed at my own words, hoping they didn't ask about my dad. I cringed at my own words, hoping they didn't ask me about my dad, who actually had been quite the role model.
That's not what I meant,
Arupa said.
For me, it was a fiancé.
If I had been drinking at the moment, I would have spat it out in surprise. You were engaged? You were engaged? You were engaged? Were, I hope.
Correct. Ended it when the fucker showed me his true colors. I mean, he volunteered for a second tour of duty that would take him off to the fringe planets to fight piracy instead of being with me. But it was simpler. In his case, found out later that he was banging some redhead twins.
Damn. I shook my head, sensing the curiosity from Sherry, who clearly wanted to know more about those twins.
Your dad was the superhero type. Your dad was the superhero type too?
Mare asked Tink. Tink scratched her nose and thought.
Complicated. Not so much a hero, but not a villain either. Like, more of an entertainer. Thought he could use his powers to bring joy to those without powers, but I always saw it as showing off.
Complicated one, Mare admitted. And you? I asked her. She shrugged. Right. Sorry. I bit my lip, wishing I hadn't spoken, having momentarily forgotten that her memory wasn't in great shape.
My dad is just a normal nobody,
Sherry said.
A bit of a fucker, but not a super.
For some reason, I figured your dad would be either a Tier 1 or maybe some supervillain. For some reason, I figured your dad would be either a... For some reason, I figured your dad would be either a Tier 1 or maybe some supervillain. Some supervillain. I admitted with a chuckle.
He tried to beat my mom once, the story goes. He's missing half his face because of that, so he always wears a mask. It gives him a supervillain look, but nope. No powers. She left him after that, of course. But I'm not sure if it was the guilt over having done that to him or the hatred regarding what he tried to do to her. Maybe both.
A long silence followed, and I took her hand, giving it a comforting squeeze.
"Ah, don't pity me! Don't pity me!"
she said to the room.
"In a world like ours, that seems to be fairly tame, I'd say."
Considering some of the horror stories I had heard when it came to domestic issues and powers being involved, she had a point. They all turned to me, waiting, so I sighed and said, "My dad? Honestly, I'd rather tell you about my mom. A legend in some parts of the galaxy. Ever heard of Trattoria?" Erupa gasped, excitement shone in Tink's eyes. Erupa gasped.
"Who?"
Mare asked.
"No shit."
Sherry interrupted as I was about to answer.
"You're telling me the Scourge of Redalia was your mom?"
She had a bit of a reputation on both sides, I admitted. That specific title had to do with her darker days. Sherry started going on about how much she heard. Sherry started going on about how much she had heard about the legend that was my mom, but I only half listened. Those stories were usually as much hype as anything else. I was surprised that I was talking about my mom with them, but I supposed that was a sign of how much they truly meant to me. When Erupa asked if I had been close to the woman, I even told them about the time my mom had taken me to watch. I even told them about the time my mom had taken me to watch a famed group of supers perform cliff diving off the waterfalls of Mokal. Mokal, probably. When Erupa asked if I had been close to the woman, I even told them about the time my mom had taken me to watch a famed group of supers perform cliff diving off the waterfalls of Mokal, a region known for the dangerous cliffs, but also the even more dangerous wildlife in the area. We had been under protection, of course, but watching those thrill-seekers nearly lose their lives, one of them lost an arm, gave me a new perspective on life, although that hadn't been as life-changing as when she had walked out amid the thunderous applause and battled a squid-like creature for the cheering audience. Although that hadn't been as life-changing as when she had walked out amid the thunderous applause and battled a squid-like creature for the cheering audience, then taken me out for tea afterward. It was the first time I had begun to understand her fame, and the first time I had realized I could actually lose her.
"Damn,"
Tink said, all of them staring at me excitedly. She sat me down, looked at me with eyes full of a zest for life, and asked me how school was, I told them, which was another sign altogether, since I had dropped out of school 2 years prior, at 10, to study on my own. The teachers at the schools I could get into couldn't keep up, and my empath abilities made puberty surrounded by all those adolescents too awkward.
"Holy shit, I bet,"
Sherry said, and my empath ability told me that her mind had immediately gone into horndog mode. Not so different from now, actually, I added with a wink. Erupa burst into laughter. Tink grinned, while Sherry punched me. Excuse me. Mare, however, had a very confused but interested aura about her, and simply smiled pleasantly. That one was going to be a tough nut to crack. Of course, that was all before the fame sucked up so much of her time and life. It's always the same story, isn't it? If we had a child, I mean. Everyone went silent, nobody making eye contact for the longest time.
"Why is that an awkward conversation topic?" Mare asked. "Which of you are..." Which of you all are romantic?
I bit back a smile.
We all fuck him,
Sherry stated, never the type to be shy about such things.
All?
She turned to each of the three ladies, then to me in turn.
With you? Wow. Wow.
It's not a bad situation, I admitted. She stared, eyes actually moving to my crotch, and her aura shifted for a moment before suddenly switching to amused.
You all are fucking with me. I get it. Jokes. Ha ha.
She actually said the ha-ha part too. I shook my head, and Sherry suddenly looked very serious.
Is that weird in your mind?
Urupa asked.
Because to us,
She shrugged.
I don't see a problem. It's not just him. Oh, there are other men? Like a shared thing? No.
Tink
No.
interjected.
But we kind of have feelings for each other. Or at least are sexually curious.
Sherry beamed as if that hadn't been a sort of insult in some way. But the other two either didn't notice or didn't seem to care.
Other men would be weird, though.
Weird. Mare grinned at me, gave me a good job nod, and then jolted slightly, looking at the display. A series of shots went off nearby, nearly hitting Breaker's ship, and a moment later we were being hailed. According to the screen, we had basically arrived at the Paradise Planet. This time, Twitch called with Letha and Trunk on the comms. I had to laugh when Trunk's image popped up and a head moving over his lap. Clearly someone on his team going down on the guy. Clearly someone on his team going down on the guy. I didn't say anything, but glanced around to see that Sherry was there, licking her lips, eyes darting to my crotch.
I just love the how not really gracefully integrated any of this is. It's basically just porn.
Not now, I whispered, humored but not about to go to that level of unprofessionalism. If I wanted to really be part of the Citadel, even a representative of the law, as I hoped to be, that wasn't the best way to start it. Far as I could tell, Trunk didn't give a flying fuck about any of that.
Any ideas would be welcome,
Twitch said, indicating the display where she showed the many ships and defensive systems below. Letha, however, was apparently watching Trunk, as her eyes were moving up and down. After a second, she said,
Trunk, really?
It isn't hurting anyone. It isn't. It isn't hurting anyone.
There we go. Okay. Lori, Letha.
it isn't hurting anyone. It isn't hurting anyone. He replied. The lady there, one I had seen earlier on Abaddon, I was pretty sure. Lifted her head and said,
Hurting me a bit, but I love it.
Fucking hell, I said, realizing his huge cock was now taking up the lower half of his screen. I hoped the proximity of the camera was adding size to that thing, because otherwise that was just wrong. I'd seen it limp, but this was a whole other level. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Exactly, Trunk replied. That's why I'm going out in style.
Ideas!
Twitch interjected, clearly done with that topic.
Retreat,
Irupa offered. How does that help us? Breaker asked.
We don't actually retreat, she clarified. Just make it look like we are. Turn the ships back, exit atmosphere, but not until several of us have made a break for it. We get down there, shut down their monitoring equipment, and the ships come back to join us.
Us? Meaning you're in? I asked.
Best way to get in, I figure, is with my shadow strike. Me and Gale. Gale, you can use your wind power to let us fall and then swoop us up at the last minute so we don't die. Right? Well, shit,
Gale said.
Maybe? I'll take maybe.
Irupa held my shoulder, giving me a trust me I'll be fine look. I nodded, but sighed with frustration. Any of my ladies going into danger without me would have me worried, even if they were badasses like all of them. The others agreed and signed off as we prepared Irupa on our side. The others agreed and signed off as we prepared Irupa on our side.
You're sure about this?
Sherry asked.
I don't get why we're not all going. Strike Force,
Irupa replied. In and get it done without putting too much attention on us, I added. Makes sense, as much as I don't like it.
Tell me not to and I won't.
Irupa turned my way, hands on her hips.
Right now. I'll call them back up and say I changed my mind. But we need to play our roles in this, ensure success. So keep that in mind.
No, I know you're right. I put my hand on hers. Doesn't mean I won't worry.
Good.
She leaned over to kiss me.
And no offense, but I hardly need protecting. In case you didn't hear, I'm a badass.
All right. That's another chapter in the book. In the books. Finished is what I mean. Finished a chapter. What's up, Gary Dose? All right, more tea. Be right back with pee. I'll be right back with a cup of pee, everybody. So you guys didn't know this, but if you're a narrator and you drink pee, it makes everything better. That's why I'm selling my own pee. Sound Booth Theater brand. A pee drink. All right. What time is it? Where are we at? 1:07. All right. I have time for one more chapter here. This is a really short book. These are both books in this series are really short. I'm already like 7% in, just at chapter 3. So I'm going to be doing basically 3 1.5 hour, well, no. Maybe I can fit 2 more chapters in. We'll see how much I can fit in. I'd like to get to like 14 or 15%. And then, so I think only tomorrow will I do another cold read. But we'll play it by ear a little bit. Let's see. Let's see how long it takes me to get through this one. By the way, don't forget, tomorrow, The Stars Have Eyes, episode 14 comes out, so watch out for the newsletter. Keep an eye on the website. At 10 a.m. Central is when we always release our stuff. This is the second to last episode of the whole series, and man, as much as I'm sad to not be working on this project anymore, it's coming to a close in a really beautiful and heartbreaking way. So, don't miss it, guys. Make sure to pick it up. And then it's, starting tomorrow, it's only going to be free for another 2 months, and then we're going to start putting price tags on the whole series. So if you want to get it before that happens, you should do it now. You got 2 months to get the whole series for free. Go to soundbooththeater.com, go pick up our website. No, go pick up our app. Start buying stuff from us through the website, or just, downloading things. Adding stuff to your library that's free. There's plenty on there. There's more than 50 free products on our platform. Give that a shot. And if you're curious about this series that I'm narrating, please go check out Psychobitches on Audible. It is completely NSFW. It is a super harem adventure. Very much, it's a spinoff of Super's X Heroes. Planet Kill is another series that we did that's in the same universe. So yeah, go check out the expanded Jamie Hawke super harem universe if you are curious about what I've been doing here. And yeah, here's back at it.
Chapter 3. Our first step on this paradise planet was to send the group down to shut off the enemy's monitoring equipment. Their systems were alerted to our presence and firing on us, but not able to land the shots. I watched as first Gale went, then Breaker and Charm. Urupa charged out to join them, bullets and explosions all around them as I took my ship to join others in the counterattack. On the display, Charm cloaked a second before... On the display, Charm cloaked a second before shadows consumed them all, and Urupa was there, pointed straight down for a freefall.
All right, I need another comms button. Let's see. All right. Enjoy the ride,
Urupa said, voice starting to crack up via comms.
And you better save us, Gale. Don't you pull that shit like last time.
What's that about? I asked, glancing around at Sherry and Tink. Neither seemed to have a clue, so I made a mental note to ask her about that comment later on. Mare wouldn't know, but she was off resting again, maybe even trying some of the meditation techniques I'd been showing her, techniques I'd learned during my time training at the temple. I hoped to help her recover her memories in this way. I leaned back, using my wrist device to look over my leveling up and stats. Having reached level 4 before, I could now actually push my empath ability in a way that would attack the mind. Pretty cool if you asked me. Even do a bit of mental and stamina healing. A bar showed how close I was to the next level. Still a bit, but it hadn't been long since my level 4 upgrade, so that made sense.
So, here we get Trunk's dad, and that'll be the key to locating and getting into the Orion Corp. Military complex?
Sherry asked. Far as I know, I said. Tink chuckled when I looked her way.
Hey, I'm just here to kill when I'm told. Hey, I'm just here to kill when told. Fight, fuck, fight some more,
Sherry said, and then laughed as if it had been some great joke.
Fight, fuck, fight some more.
At our looks of curiosity, she shrugged.
A Psychobitch's life for me.
Yo-ho, I said, grinning.
Did he just call me a hoe?
Sherry hissed at Tink, eyeing me suspiciously.
Maybe both of us?
Tink replied. It's... No. It's... No. I face-palmed, then noticed another round of defensive shots coming our way and put the ship into defensive maneuvers mode. Not everyone shares my fascination with Earth history, but you two should at least get into it a bit. Shared interest and all. Tink scoffed.
And when's the last time you even asked me what my interests are? Yeah,
Sherry added. Shit. I ran a hand through my hair, adjusting it so it didn't flop down onto my forehead. What are your interests? Tink considered this, then nudged Sherry.
You first.
Sherry grinned wide.
I just said, actually, fight, fuck, and fight some more.
What the fuck? Come on. Oh my god. There we go.
We all laughed, but then turned to Tink, waiting, while I continued evasive maneuvers, along with some of the other ships who were drawing the attention of the planet's defensive systems.
It's been so long since I was able to even think about it, but... Dragons. Wait, what?
Sherry asked.
You know, dragons. Also hippogriffs, unicorns, animals like that.
Sherry was staring at her wide-eyed, giving me the feeling that I needed to intervene. She means mythology, I explained, or rather mythological animals.
They aren't myth,
Tink countered. You've seen one?
No.
I held out my hands, waiting for an explanation.
Listen, you don't have to see something to know it's real.
Tink indicated the screen to remind me to focus on keeping us alive, Although honestly, it wasn't hard work with the ship's defensive systems in place.
Think. This Tinkerbell you named me after, right? You never saw her, never met her, but she's real.
No, actually, that was a story. Fiction.
Seriously?
She pursed her lips, frowning.
Fine. Whales, right? And the narwhal. I've studied up on those too. Real or myth?
Whales, real. Narwhal... I scratched my chin, trying to remember that one.
Like whales, kind of? Like whales, kind of, but with a long horn or tooth or something similar to a unicorn.
A whale with the horn of a unicorn? Come on, Tink. Of course that can't be real. She shrugged.
You believe what you want. I'll believe what I do. Unicorns, narwhals, dragons, all of it. Hell, I'm going to say Tinkerbell was real, because fuck you for saying dragons aren't.
I sighed, knowing this wasn't an argument I could win. As I continued to pilot the ship, I decided that humoring her couldn't hurt and asked where her fascination with dragons came from. She scrunched her nose, apparently not buying my interest, but finally said,
I'll show you all something.
And used her finger to trace light in the sky as she did what we'd taken to calling her pixie dust, and drew a dragon in the air. The drawing was impressive, and it was too bad to see the light fade away, the drawing gone.
Always been into drawing them, actually,
Tink admitted.
When I was a little girl, I'd read something about them, I think. Or maybe it was a story my mom told me. I don't remember. Anyway, I got super into drawing them, first with my finger in the dirt, then burning images into our fence. When my mom came out one day and found our entire fence covered in those drawings, I thought I'd be in trouble. She actually laughed and immediately got me into classes. Told me I could be the best artist in the world someday. If I wanted.
I believe it, I said. She offered me a thankful smile.
Well, life has taken some strange turns, hasn't it? Instead of drawing dragons, I'm out here fighting off alien invasions or whatever it is that's happening. Maybe...
A timid voice came from the doorway, and we turned to see Mare standing there.
It's just a thought, but maybe you could draw me someday? In mermaid form, of course. I'd like that,
Tink replied. They shared a smile, and then Mare entered, taking her seat and watching below.
No more attacks?
She asked, and it wasn't until then that I realized we were in the clear. Erupa and the others on the ground must have been successful. It wasn't long before we all landed. We disembarked, finally getting to meet everyone in the flesh. Erupa was apparently ecstatic to see me. She sprinted over, picked me up, and smothered me in kisses before I had a chance to ask how it had gone.
Ah, fuck, it's good to come back to your arms,
she said, setting me down and laughing. Well, need to laugh.
Ha! Fuck, it's good to come back to your arms,
she said, setting me down and laughing. My arms? I grinned, feeling her taut muscles. As far as women went, I liked them all. As far as women went, I liked them in all shapes and sizes, and she definitely had a unique angle with how buff she was. Breaker and team got us all together, and he explained that they had managed to hack into the planet's surveillance system, and a super named Shimmer, from his team, was using her illusion powers to keep us hidden from above. I clasped forearms with Trunk, accepted an embrace from Letha, and approached the man I now recognized as Breaker. Ezra, it's a pleasure, the man said, seeming more timid than I had imagined him. Sort of nerdy, almost. You too, I replied, holding out a hand. He shook it with vigor.
Erupa is quite the lady. You're lucky to have her on your team.
I am. He gave me a nod, turned to say hello to Letha, and then I noticed Andromeda nearby. Having seen her bounty contract so many times, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to meet the legend. The famed Blue Lady, I said, stepping up to her. It's a pleasure to meet you.
And you, bounty hunter,
She replied with a hint of humor in her eyes, but no smile. She replied with a hint of humor in her eyes, but no smile. You're familiar with my work? She shrugged.
Not well enough, although I made sure to make note of who was after me in my time.
Smart. And your role here? Sorry, but I always took you to be more of a force of nature, bringing havoc and chaos wherever you went. She finally smiled.
All part of a grand strategy. In this case, it involves Muerta. Maybe also the one they call Asterisk, and more.
I nodded, told her I was excited to be part of it all, and turned in time to see Sherry approach Charm while getting that mischievous look in her eyes I knew could spell trouble.
What the fuck are you?
Sherry asked the woman.
Just another super trying to do my part.
Charm muttered, glancing over at Breaker, who was mid-conversation with Letha.
Super Fox?
Sherry asked. The way she turned to me with a look of pretty cool, huh, was enough of a distraction for her to miss the flash of anger in the fox lady's eyes, and the punch coming her way. Charm's punch landed and sent Sherry flying back, even as Sherry tried to throw a counterpunch but only hit the air. Breaker was in there a moment later, trying to separate them. I rushed over.
Excuse me.
I rushed over too, along with a hybrid I recognized from one of the other ships. He was unmistakable due to the white fur that covered his body. Sherry and Charm squared off. I held up a hand to Sherry, giving her the look that told her to back down. She didn't need to be told twice, but it had been Charm who struck first.
What's going on here?
Letha called out, walking into our midst. I liked the asylum guard outfit she now wore, giving her a look similar to mine. Sword pointed at Charm. Sherry spat out.
What's go- She-Wolf over there punched me!
Fuck, Twitch said with a laugh.
Watch it.
Charm, Breaker said, approaching his lady. Can we try not to start a fight with our new friends the first time we get to actually meet them?
You hear what she said?
Charm growled. I did, and... Turning on Sherry, Breaker frowned. Darling, I said, as I realized she had the sword pointed at him now. Sherry frowned, then sheathed her sword and cracked a smile.
I was just having fun, Foxy. The voices told me to say it, that's all. They're telling me you don't like being called Foxy either, but guess what? I don't fucking like flying. It hurts my stomach. So we can all be a bit grumpy, huh? And just leave it at that.
I turned to Breaker, hoping he'd back off. He met my gaze and nodded. Charm saw this and went over to her man, whispering something about a punch, but didn't act further on it. Andromeda was glaring, clearly not the type to put up with this bullshit. Breaker turned to the crowd now gathered around us and held out his hands.
Ignoring all of that, it's nice to meet you. I'm called Breaker, but my real name is Chad. I take it everyone is now familiar with the concept of supers?
Trunk raised a hand. Still trying to wrap my mind around the idea, but back there in Abaddon we were exposed a bit. Still trying to wrap my mind around the idea, but back there in Abaddon we were exposed a bit.
Short version of the story, supers were the colonists who left for the Aurum system long ago. Aurum system. The sun there changed them, giving some of them superpowers. Them, you say?
Letha assessed Breaker.
I'm pretty sure you have powers too.
He nodded.
Apparently my jarhead brother and I, although raised on Earth, were children of some very powerful supers. We can get into it when we travel again, or during our next downtime. I'd love to hear more of your stories, especially Letha and Trunk. What happened after you both ascended?
The jarhead part of what he said registered, although it took me a moment to put together the words with where I'd heard it before. Oh, Marines.
Drew is, Breaker said, nodding. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Ascended?
Tink asked, leaning in so the others would hear. Yes, I whispered back as someone else said something to the group.
Ascended? Ascended?
Tink. Yes. Basically, they fought on a planet to earn their rights among the elites in their system. It's kind of fucked up.
I'll say.
She frowned, taking in Letha and Trunk. Trunk, who had listened to us, shook his head. Technically, I never did. But yeah, story for another time.
Trunk, will your father really be able to show us where Orion Corp is? Even get us in?
He has the knowledge and know-how. You just gotta do the convincing.
We've got that covered,
Charm assured him.
As long as you don't lose your temper, I guess.
Tink said, but at a look from Charm went small, fluttering next to my shoulder.
Right. Don't you worry about Charm, Breaker said. She's reliable. Each of you should worry about your own team when we get there.
I was pretty sure he looked my way before continuing.
Right now, we're going to need a small group, including Trunk, to get his father and escape with the man. That means going with me will be Trunk, Charm, and... Trunk, you want to take one of yours?
The man adjusted himself, clearly not used to wearing so much clothing, and shrugged. Knowing my dad and where he'll be, I'll say my boy Drano there.
Drano?
Breaker asked. A short guy with pearly whites stepped forward, rubbing his hands together as he shouted,
Reporting for duty! Why him? Breaker asked. Some power? Some power that'll help? Knowledge about this sort of stuff?
Trunk laughed. Nah, just that my dad's the type to hang out at whorehouses, and I promised this guy I'd buy him a lay.
Fucking classy.
Letha said with a laugh. Hey, anytime you want to come back my way for a spin, you let me know. Hey, anytime you want to come back my way for a spin, you let me know. The hybrid next to Letha growled, but she put a hand on his chest.
Darnell, please. We have history, that's all.
Trunk grinned, staring down Darnell. Letha turned back to Trunk, glared, and then returned her attention to Breaker.
And the rest of us?
Twitch cut in.
We'll have 2 ships in orbit, in case there's trouble, and the rest can wait here, ready to go. I'd like to get some time for us all to spar, get to know each other's strength in a fight, that sort of thing, so that we're a cohesive unit. Good thinking.
Gale gave her a respectful nod.
I like it too.
Letha chimed in.
Just remember, we don't all have superpowers. That said, we know how to shoot, and where a blade goes. Make it fast,
Andromeda said, rotating her neck and then stretching her arms.
I'm
ready to get out of here, I know. Breaker cut in, earning a couple of chuckles.
Sorry, but we all are. If Drano here's really going to visit a whorehouse, he better be a true 1-minute man. I can do even quicker,
the short guy said, giving Breaker a thumbs up.
10 seconds, maybe 30, tops.
I don't remember who Agris is. Uh-oh. New character. Not in this series. I'm gonna have to just go to a random fucking book and see who this Agris character is. Well, no, I'm not, am I? I guess I don't. It doesn't matter if I don't know who it is. It's not me, that's all I know.
Tops! And where would you have me, Master?
Agris asked, earning a nervous glance from all around. Oddly, there was a very palatable unease from his immediate group members, and something cold about Agris's emotional aura. different.
Okay. This is a dude.
And where would you have me, Master? Agris asked.
We can watch her, Twitch said. If anyone comes by, she can cover for us. Assure them all's normal.
Good call, Breaker replied, then turned to the Agris. Do that. She nodded his way, hands folded in front of her, and gave me a pleasant, very awkward smile.
What? She? She nodded whose way?
What the fuck? All right.
Very awkward smile. It all felt rather unnatural, the way they were treating her. So I had to assume she was new to the team.
Oh, she's an android. She is an android.
And where would you have me?
And where would you have me, Master?
Agris asked. Good call. She was new to the team.
Android,
Sherry hissed into my ear.
Lily's telling me so anyway. Just joined. Basically.
I made eye contact with the supposed android, wondering if she had heard us and wondering how it was that I could get an emotional signal off of her if she was truly an android. Lily, Sherry's bear, but so much more, hadn't steered me wrong in the past, so I decided to go with it. Breaker laughed.
Let's get to it then. Why is he laughing? What the fuck was that about?
The four of them chosen for the mission took off, and I was fine with that. My team and I returned to our ship, ready in case we needed to fly or charge into the city. I hated not knowing what the next move was, but it would depend in large part on the success of our other teams. One thing I knew for sure, I had zero interest in staying on an elite-fueled fucking paradise planet 1 minute longer than was needed. These types had always annoyed me. People who thought they were better than others, basically considering themselves gods. Maybe that had been part of what drew me to Orion Corp. Before I understood the truth of the corporations. They had promoted themselves as the answer for the common man. In a way, it was about power rather than status, which should have been a red flag in itself. At the time, all I saw was a system that set itself apart from the structure that had claimed my dad, the part I didn't want to tell my team about. How he had fallen at the hands of the system, tried his best to bring us out of our place in it all, only to feel the weight too heavy for his shoulders.
Losing my voice a little bit.
For his shoulders. Turns out, maybe neither was exactly optimal. At the moment, I was going for the lesser of two evils, but still hoped for changes in more than one way. Maybe we should wait outside. Maybe we should wait inside, I said, feeling a ball of disgust building up in my gut at the thought of this planet, everything it I said, feeling a ball of disgust building up in my gut at the thought of this planet and everything it stood for.
Good idea.
Judging by the tilt of her lip and bounce in her step as Sherry moved aboard the ship, she had a similar notion of the place. Tink, I noted, lingered for a moment, eyes scanning the horizon as if looking for something. Maybe this reminded her of home? Maybe this reminded her of her home? Reaching into my fairly good memory and considering what I had learned about her when I read the file to prepare for her hunt, it hit me that she had indeed come from a place of wealth. She had been raised in a city I used to dream of visiting as a youth, one that, even in my studies at the temple, my mind had wandered to. It was during that time that I had learned to block the image from my mind, an image of me riding through a flying car down the streets of Ingar, its crystalline buildings rising up around me, the elegance of white and cobalt blue that made up the city sparkling in its dual suns. "You're happy?" I asked her, pausing with her as the others went ahead. "Here with me, I mean."
"Anywhere with you,"
she replied. I grinned, but waved the comment off. Come on. Not that long ago you were threatening to dismember me, and worse.
"Not long ago I wasn't sucking your cock, but—"
She leaned into me, hand running along my inseam.
"Things change."
But no matter what happens with us, where we end up, it's not going to be Ingar. She went rigid for a moment at the sound of the city's name, a look of disgust crossing her face. Not the response I had expected.
"The day I go back there is the day I die,"
she said.
"Literally. They've exiled me until that day."
"I'm sorry?"
"Don't be. I was part of an operation that exposed some very high-level officials in a ring of corruption and worse."
Her tongue ran along her upper teeth as she stared off at the wall and thought, then said,
"Unfortunately for me, it turned out that pretty much everyone was in that boat. Everyone but me. They reinstated everyone else and kicked me out. That's how it goes."
Even in Ingar. Even in Ingar.
"Not even, but especially. Yes."
I had no idea. She put a hand on my shoulder, offering a smile.
"The prettiest things aren't always so perfect once you get to know them."
Is that a... Is that a warning? I chuckled nervously. Are you going to end up being some serial killer and slaughter me in my sleep?
"You're kind. I hope you find that's not true with me, but in much of life, it's the case."
I nodded, considering the fact that I really didn't know her very well. There was what I knew on paper, and the intense experiences we had shared on Abaddon and since, but that wasn't much. Apparently she was thinking the same thing, or something very similar, because her emotional aura started showing me unease and confusion. I leaned in, kissed her, and wrapped my arms around her. It doesn't matter.
"What doesn't?"
Anything. None of it matters. We've shared a very intense experience, and some very intimate ones since then. Even if I learn that there are parts of you which aren't what I would have once considered perfect, I will love them because they are part of you."
"You think?"
I chuckled. If there's one thing I know, it's emotions. Ours are real. All of ours. We need to get to know each other more, but for that we have all the time in the universe. Or at least as long as we can manage to stay alive. Personally, I'm looking forward to getting to know each of you more.
"Ditto."
She kissed me back, but then scrunched her nose.
"Funny, considering how much I took you as the macho type."
Don't say it. I can be macho and still express feelings and emotions. I'm redefining macho. Her laugh was pleasant. The way she squeezed my crotch a moment later, more so.
"This is all the macho I need."
I squirmed uneasily as her fingers caressed me. A chuckle sounded from outside, and I turned to see A chuckle sounded from outside, and I turned to see that we were still in the entryway with the ramp open, one of the hybrid men watching with a wide smile.
Hope you enjoyed the show,
Tink said, waving with her free hand, and then hit the button to make the ramp go up. What was she doing with the other hand? Maybe he meant Sherry. I'm not going to fix it. Fuck it. I laughed, turning to continue in. No, I will fix it. I think it is supposed to be Sherry.
Hope you enjoyed the show.
Sherry said, waving with her free. She said, waving. Make the ramp go up. I laughed, turning to continue in, but her hand gripped me tighter.
Where do you think you're going?
She asked. I assumed. The rest of my sentence went unspoken as her hand moved up and then into my pants, stroking me right there. Her free hand started working my pants off, and she shook her head.
All this talking of getting to know each other more, I figure.
She knelt and rubbed my cock along her cheek, down toward her mouth.
No time like the present.
Naturally, I didn't point out that this wasn't the kind of getting to know each other we had really been discussing. But hey, it made us both feel closer to each other, so why not? She held my cock as if for inspection, then flicked her tongue out, tickling my scrotum, then the tip of my cock.
See, getting to know you better already,
she said, and then was working it. When I couldn't take it any longer, I pulled her up and pressed her against the wall while pulling her pants off. Favorite food? I asked, my hand sliding along her thigh and then gripping her ass.
Rack of lamb. Slow.
She breathed heavily into my ear, guiding my cock to rub against her wet pussy.
Slow. Cooked with pomegranate. You?
I felt her against me, moving so that I felt her opening take me inside, our two bodies becoming one.
So?
She asked, my cock fully inside of her, her eyes fluttering. Food? I pulled her to me, slowly making love to her. I don't... harem. Maybe tiramisu?
That's dessert. It's cheating.
I laughed. Let's go ahead and get rid of that.
It's cheating. It's cheating.
Who the hell cares right now? She grinned, moved in to kiss my neck, then bit my earlobe.
Favorite position?
Sexual? She bit me.
Of course.
This one right here feels very nice. More thrusting, groping of flesh, kissing, and then an emotion of arousal from nearby registered, although not the one from Tink.
Ezra?
Mare said, standing in the hallway. She was turned slightly as if not watching us, but eyes clearly focused on the view. I froze there, mid-thrust. Yes?
They sent me to tell you. I guess they thought it would be funny, but attack coming. You should see this.
This is Sherry again. This is another typo.
Not the only thing coming.
Sherry said, pressing against me and taking my cock back fully inside of her. Tink said, pressing against me and taking my cock back fully inside of her.
1 minute. I'm not sure we have time,
Mare replied, but Sherry wasn't listening. She was grinding on me and gripping me, her head thrown back and mouth open with eyes shut.
Why is it still saying Tink? What the fuck? It is. Oh, it is supposed to be Tink. Fuck. Okay.
If you enjoyed the show.
Sherry.
Good idea. Lily's telling me so anyway. Just joined. Basically.
I made eye contact with the supposed android,
Damn it,
wondering
I
if
have
she
to do this whole fucking thing again.
could wait inside.
Okay, so that is supposed to be Annie. That is Sherry, I mean.
You're happy? I asked her, pausing with her as...
Anywhere with you.
she replied. Pausing with her as the others went ahead. Here with me, I mean.
Here we go. Let's go ahead and get rid of all these. Shit.
Not that long ago, you were threatening to dismember me, and worse.
Not long ago, I also wasn't sucking your cock, but...
She leaned into me. She leaned into me, hand running along my Not the response I had expected. Not the response I had expected.
The day I go back there is the day I die,
She said.
Literally. They've exiled me until that day.
I'm sorry?
Don't be. I was part of an operation that exposed some very high-level officials in a ring of corruption, and worse. Unfortunately for me, it turned out that pretty much everyone was in that boat. Everyone but me. They reinstated everyone else and kicked me out. That's how it goes.
Even in Ingar.
Not even, but especially. Yes.
I had no idea.
The prettiest things aren't always so perfect once you get to know them. You're kind. I hope you find that's not true with me, but in much of life, it's the case.
I nodded, considering the fact that I really didn't know her very well. There was what I knew on paper, and the intense experiences we had shared. It doesn't matter.
What doesn't?
Anything. None. I will love them because they are part of you.
You think?
I chuckled. I'm looking forward to getting to know each of you more.
Ditto.
She kissed me back, but then scrunched her nose.
Funny, considering how much I took you as the macho type.
Don't say it. Defining macho. Her laugh was pleasant.
This is all the macho I need.
I squirmed.
Hope you enjoyed the show,
Sherry said. Tink said, waving. Tink said, waving with her free hand. Tink said, waving with her free hand, and then hit the button to make the ramp go up. I laughed.
Where do you think you're going?
She asked. I assume.
All this talk of getting to know each other more. I figure...
She knelt and rubbed.
No time like the present. No time like the present.
Naturally.
See, getting to know you better already,
She said. And then...
Rack of lamb. Slow.
She breathed heavily into my ear.
Slow. Cooked with pomegranate. You?
I felt her against. Our two bodies becoming one.
So?
She asked. My cock. I don't. Oh, harem. Maybe tiramisu?
That's dessert. It's cheating.
Bit my earlobe.
Favorite position?
Sexual? She bit me.
Of course.
This one right here feels very nice.
You should see this. You should see this. Not the only thing coming.
Tink said. Fully inside of her. Fully inside of her.
1 minute. 1 minute. I'm not sure we have time.
Shut. I shared a look with Mare as Tink climaxed, and then Tink was off me, kneeling with 2 hands on my cock, jacking me off until I came all over her face. The whole time, Mare watched. When it was done, Tink stood and grinned, then said,
I'll find a bathroom and see you in the bridge. I'll find a bathroom and see you in the bridge.
She had to hold a hand to her brow to keep my cum from dripping. I had to admit, after that, I felt much closer to her. And to Mare, who was biting her lip while staring at my engorged cock. Sorry about that, I said. She shook her head, eyes wide as if just realizing what had happened, then spun on her heel. And ran back to the bridge. With a shrug, I tucked myself away and followed. Nobody had forced her to watch, after all. I entered to find Arupa and Sherry giving me sly grins, but they only lasted as long as it took them to remember the action on the screen as my eyes found it. Ships were incoming, and a lot of them. Marines? I asked. Marines? I asked, moving to the pilot seat and adjusting my half-boner so it wouldn't be so obvious.
And more,
Arupa said, indicating a spot on the screen that showed some massive ships.
Those, I think they're the nihilists.
Mare sat in her seat, avoiding eye contact with me. Or maybe she was just very engaged by the action on the screen. Judging by the nervous aura coming from her, it was less about that action, and more about the action she had just witnessed. Tink entered and glanced around, then to the screen, and said,
"Shit."
"Indeed." "Indeed," I said, checking in with the others as I raced through the hot launch startup sequences and then fired the engines on our ship. They were preparing as well. We were soon in the air, ready for action. An attack hit the city. The explosion, no joke. Smoke rose and filled the air as more and more attacks hit. We were airborne now, doing our best to avoid the Marine ships that took us for the enemy, and already attacking any Nihilist-related ship we could confirm as enemy. Soon the Marines had forgotten about us, going full-on against the Nihilists.
Okay. This is Twitch.
"Breakers incoming!"
Nope, wrong.
"Breakers incoming!"
Twitch said. Voice over the comms and through the ships in a way that told me she must have managed to hack into the ships with her special screens.
"Prepare to make departure."
"We are," I said, watching as the Marines began putting together a protective barrier that was helping to hold off the enemy attack, at least momentarily. I had no doubt they would fall, and judging by the force arrayed against them, it wouldn't take long. Soon we were off, though, knowing this wasn't our fight, and not one we could make much of a dent in. Breaker filled us in on the rest of the mission, and the coordinates were Breaker filled us in on the rest of the mission, and the coordinates we were... Breaker filled us in on the rest of the mission and the coordinates we were to fly for. We had our destination, the location of the friend of Trunk's dad who they'd... We had our destination, the location of the friend of Trunk's dad who they had been at. We had our destination, the location of the friend of Trunk's dad who they had been after. It was time to put our plan into action.
There we go. All right, cool. That is the last chapter for today. Where are we at? We're at 15%. Exactly. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out for that. Really awkward to be doing that myself, but, you know, it's my job. That's what this book is. It's fucking weird. The sex scenes are crazy. But hey, it's fun. It sells. And it's as awkward as it is, it can be fun to do sometimes. Anyway, back at it tomorrow. I'm hoping to get in here more like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., something like that, Central. So watch out. If you haven't yet, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more, cold reads of other things, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Go to our website, soundbooththeater.com, subscribe to our newsletter. This particular book we're only going to do one more cold reads for, and that's tomorrow. And then I'll finish up the book. And then next week, let's see. If I do tomorrow, Thursday, that's another 15%. I can probably finish this up by next Tuesday and start book 3 by next Wednesday. So anyway, yeah, just keep an eye out if you want to come back for more tomorrow. And you guys have a wonderful day.